moot in this debate. Schuyler and Josh must supply a definition of slavery that isn't concocted from sheer imagination.
Is portrayed themselves as a Muslim. And ISIS, the name itself, is after a Babylonian false god.
I think you would be a biochemical predestinarian, which would mean all
Shalom and greetings. So yeah, I was even playing this with Matt when I was in Zoom and doing the settings and stuff, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. So I went to the settings bar and I went to the audio settings and I went to change them all, the monitor off, and I had it there. So I don't know what's going on with that. So let me try it real quick one more time just to see. So it's media 2.
Debate.
What happened?
It's my introduction got all messed up. It's weird, but that's the first time it's ever happened. Like, I'm gonna try it one more time.
Sounds good.
You can fix it right on the fly.
This flapdoodle is easily unraveled, so therefore moot in this debate. Schuyler and Josh must supply a definition of slavery that isn't concocted from sheer imagination. Is portrayed themselves as a Muslim.
So we got Standing for Truth with us, and also Ron Matt, so I'm excited. They'll be with us a little bit. So I have an important announcement to make about my beliefs, that I'm not an old Earth creationist anymore. So I am a young Earth creationist, and I went through the evidence. It's so empirical, and there's so much evidence for young Earth creationism. I don't see how anyone can avoid it. And I appreciate Matt and Standing for Truth, and unveiling those truths and bringing them to light. So I thank those guys a lot.
Thanks. Amen, brother. Thanks so much. As I was saying to you earlier off air, you're a very open-minded individual, very intelligent. I love the way you debate these atheists. And yeah, you've looked at the evidence with an open mind. You've had some legitimate questions, concerns, and you sought out some answers and you were given them. And awesome, you've done a full-blown conversion to young Earth creation, all on your own, brother. So I'm thrilled to hear that. God bless.
Yeah, thank you, and I think God helped out a lot. But if anyone is wondering the evidence out there, all you got to do is just message Standing for Truth and Raw Matt, and you will get blown away. I was blown away with the evidence out there with the flood. In fact, we're going to show a trailer with that Matt made. We're going to show with the flood. We can go, all the evidence is genetic evidences for young Earth. So I think it's pretty awesome, and be against this lie called evolution. Hey, Javier, how's it going, buddy? And I we have a new donation link now for Standing for Truth, and that's going to be our major link now for donations. So if you like what we're doing, then you go ahead and donate and subscribe and like. So hopefully, you guys, hopefully you like what we're doing. And we got Olive with us. We do our normal stuff. It's so nice to have other people with us tonight.
Very, very good.
So we could get going with a trailer. We might do a little bit. We're probably gonna do a little bit of a video review of Godless Engineer and Ken Hovind. It's so nice to have our brothers and sisters tonight. It's awesome. So we could. I mean, I'm gonna try to show this trailer here and see if anyone. If hopefully that is not going, because I have to go fix a bunch of things if this doesn't work. So here we go.
And then, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month and the 17th day of the month, the fountains of the great deep broke forth. And the windows of heaven were opened.
I'm just blown away every time I see Matt's videos. That's incredible.
Thanks.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, that was amazing.
Yeah, that's the one coming soon. That's going to be fun.
Wow, that was like amazing. I mean, it really is. That takes some serious skills to do that stuff.
The video is going to be about an hour, and it's more technical. That was more of like a trailer for the visuals and to make it exciting for people. But it's just going to be basically an hour or who knows how long with the new model. It's going to be exciting.
And very exciting. It definitely sounds like it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to blow people away with all the evidence, and it's going to be pretty technical from what Matt's telling me, but irrefutable is the most important.
Very, very good.
So there's too many people, Skepticaholic and Conservative Mirror. Wow, nice to have you guys in here. And here's what they said about your video, Matt. Wow, what the hell did I just see? That was so awesome. I think it blew out a speaker.
It's all about the music.
Yeah, I made the sound effects intense. Yeah.
That was sick, man. I have to admit that was pretty sick.
Apparently, that guy was not around when Praise had my voice so loud that it was going out speakers. So that's,
Actually,
yeah.
same thing with me. The first time I was on your channel, Praise, it must have been a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I re-listened after. I'm like, whoa, I'm loud.
Yeah. The audio can be tricky if you're not careful.
You've mastered it now, though, brother. You've mastered it now.
So we could do review a video of Godless Engineer. That would be pretty fun. And everyone in the chat, feel free to comment, and we'll get back with your comment here.
Did you want to start right where the discussion part starts?
Yeah.
Do you know where that timestamp is, or do you want me to find it for you?
Yeah. I'm not sure where that would be, but yeah, if you have a timestamp, I can put it there.
Do you have the debate up currently? Do you have the link to the debate?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Actually, which link do you have? Do you have the one that I just posted today, or are you using a different one?
I'm just using one from Ken Hoven's website.
Okay. So let's see. I'll help you find because there's opening statements, and then here I'm going to find it.
Given that it was the super chat.
And then rebuttals. Just the way Godless Engineer's face palming the whole time, and like he was.
Funny.
I've got screenshots of atheists admitting that Godless Engineer here was just a complete embarrassment.
That was pretty bad.
Okay, here I'm gonna find the time. I'm close to it. Just 1 second. Okay, I got it. So it's 42:25.
Gotcha.
Right when the discussion starts. And I noticed in this one too. So if whoever watched the debate with Adam Heap and then Godless Engineer and then the one from yesterday with Emotionally Stunned and Emoticon, Hovind must be getting so tired of answering that same question about where did all the water go? Have these evolutionists seen the oceans? He answers that same objection every time.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that same thing over and over. They parrot it over and over.
I think what they're doing is, Googling the best so-called objections to Noah's Ark and a global flood, and then, like you just said, they're just parroting the same objections.
Yeah, like they're in a script. Like everything's a script
Yeah.
with these atheists and these naturalistic, uniformitarian type of things. It's always the same stuff they get the script.
I just used a lot of.
You really hear the same thing constantly. Like, for example, I constantly hear, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this too. Well, how come God made the earth look old? That one's crazy. It's like you're telling me that you can pick up two rocks and you can tell looking at each one which one's younger than the other? Get out of here.
Yeah, I don't see how you can get that. That is the height of speculation as you can get.
Yeah.
So we'll play it now, and if anyone just chime in and say something, you want to say something, come on in and say something.
Time, so if you want to ask me a question or explain something to me, as long as it doesn't go too long, I mean, I would say go ahead and ask.
You made quite a few, I would say, false statements about me. You accused me of being distorting things and being dishonest. I resent that greatly, and I think that's slander on your part. You said my only basis.
Yeah, obviously it's the same stuff, the ad hominems and the personal attacks, because they have nothing else of substance to argue with. It's so you can see where atheism is dropped down to.
Well, they've stooped to a level where they don't actually have anything of substance, anything technical, any real objections or arguments to bring forth. And the majority of their arguments in these debates are straw man arguments. Like, they don't understand the creation model, and therefore they're attacking something that is basically a misrepresentation.
Yeah, a straw man model of what we believe. And it's never, why can't, I mean, atheists and skeptics just properly represent our arguments, at least represent us correctly? I mean, that's all you have to do to at least get off take off the foot, off the right foot.
Well, Matt does a good job with this. They'll often come into a debate like they're experts, and Matt will ask, okay, reiterate one young earth creation based prediction to us if you study the topic so well. And they can't even name one. Or they'll ask a specific objection, and it's like, okay, I understand that that's an objection you have, but what does our literature say in regards to your objection? Like, I can tell you all the number, the top 10 best evidence for evolution. I can reiterate it back to them, but they don't know anything about our model is the problem.
Right. They'll just parrot the LLA frequencies or something over time. I mean, that's a description of evolution. That's not evidence of evolution.
Oh, you got that right. Jackson Weed and T-Jump, these guys are notorious for that. Evolution means changes in allele frequencies and populations over time. It's like they think just saying that proves that pine trees and whales are related. Like, you can change alleles all day, every day. That's not going to take your bacteria-like organism into a whale. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not. And to me, it's ad hoc. To go anything beyond speculation over millions and millions and billions of years, I mean, it's all speculation and ad hoc from there. So of course that's not scientific, because how could that be observable? It's because you see bones, that has nothing to do with observable and testable, science. So.
For believing this is because the Bible says, and I clearly showed you that is not correct. I do believe the Bible is true, but that is only one. All the scientific evidence also points to there being a worldwide flood.
Bingo! Ken Hovind's right in the head. So we have science. I mean, this is what I was going through with Pistis the other day, because Aaron Raw, I call him Aaron Bra, but he misrepresents, of course, Pistis' faith. And Pistis itself is empirical, and it's supposed to be testable, just like Christ with Thomas with putting his hands in the wound. That is testable, and that's also empirical evidence that Jesus resurrected.
Flood. All the historical evidence points to there being a flood. So don't say I only use the Bible for this. That's a way for you to cop out of giving an honest answer. I gave you
No. I'm not trying to cop out.
I like how Hovind puts his feet to the fire here. Really good stuff, Hovind. I love watching Hovind.
Giving an honest answer. Can I address this real quick?
Sure. I gave 9 reasons why. One of them was the Bible.
Okay. No, if you actually listen to what I said that the basis of your belief is the Bible. Now, I'm kind of curious, if you found evidence in reality that the Bible was wrong in some kind of way in this context, would you say?
Well, he always does that, godless engineer. He'll just say, we just look to the Bible, even though if you watch Hovind's opening presentation, like, he gave a very, very technical, thorough model. He used historical evidence, scientific evidence, and all godless engineer can do is resort to that remark. He did the same thing with me in my debate with him. He's like, the only thing standing for truth can say is God did it. I said, I put forth hypotheses with testable predictions, and he didn't address any of it. And Matt, you remember that, eh? My opening statement, I went over Y chromosome atom, mitochondrial Eve, 3 major haplogroups, predictions that flow from created heterozygosity, genetic entropy. He addressed 0 of it.
Because he wasn't listening. He wasn't listening to what you were saying. He was prepping for what he was going to say next. That's why he resorted to you saying, well, God did it. You didn't say that once.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Because of their script, it didn't matter what I said. It didn't matter what Hovind said to defend the flood. he knew that he was going to say God did it. He knew regardless that's going to be his rebuttal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just these type of tactics they have to rely on to evade away from arguments of younger creationists, and when we bring Christians to the argument, so they have to rely on these tactics to get around this. So there's ESE, emotionally son of Emoticon. He's in here. Hey Nicole, nice to see you in here too again. So good. There's some. I mean, the chat is getting filled up. Pretty cool stuff tonight. Awesome.
It's funny how emotion in the chat. I'm guessing he's saying that we ignore most of the data field when in fact it's them who ignores almost all of the data field. And for example, when it comes to their own mechanisms of natural selection and mutations, they don't even have a clue as to what type of selection or what type of mechanism can rid the population of these near neutral deleterious mutations. They're the ones that are actually ignoring the data in favor of holding on to their philosophical belief in pawns come to people evolution. So it's not us ignoring the data field. We're looking at the data field. Dr. John Sanford knows all about the data field.
Oh yeah, and it's out there. It's just people don't want to confront it, or they try to get around it and circumvent it. And it's out there. I'm telling you, that's why I converted younger creationism, because I mean, there's so much evidence for the model they propose. Genetic entropy. I mean, we got the flood model. We got proofs. I mean, there's so many proofs that dinosaurs lived with humans, like on the rocks. We have so many proofs of that. I mean, that's just reality. That's what it is. So that's why I'm a younger creationist, and I appreciate. I mean, if you guys need some help, just come to these guys, and they'll get you there. So I'll keep going here.
Correct, or would you say that the Bible is wrong in that instance?
If you can find evidence that shows the Bible is wrong, I will admit it was wrong. If I can show you evidence the Bible is right, or that evolution is wrong, or that the geologic column is wrong, will you change, John?
If you could actually prove it, yeah, sure. But
okay.
Yeah, see, already he's trying to show here his criteria of proof has to be met. And to me, that he can shift the goalposts all he wants, and you'll never satisfy his criteria, his little game there. And I hope people can see the game here. He can just keep shifting the goalposts to try to not become accountable to the evidence that's already there. The demonstrable evidence of what Ken Hovind's saying. And this is a tactic that hopefully Christians understand. So,
it's a very common tactic, especially with militant atheists such as godless engineer here. And I like how Hovind just flips it back to him right away and asks him, well, what if I gave you, or you came across evidence that was contradictory or inconsistent with evolution? You give up evolution? And godless engineer says, well, yeah, but you're not going to be able to show me that type of evidence. It's like, no, that evidence is out there, but you're covering your eyes, and as the Bible says, you're being willingly ignorant.
Yeah, they willingly suppress the evidence that God has shown them in nature and the natural revelation. They willingly suppress it in unrighteousness. It's within them. That's an evilness within them. They suppress it with. So Romans 1, I mean, telling you what, that's another impressive chapter that shows the Word of God is true. So keep on going.
The problem is that you can't. None of your evidence actually proves.
Yeah, that's a buzzword. The word evidence. I'm sorry, godless engineer. You are not the arbiter of evidence or any other atheist. The word evidence presupposes an epistemology or truth. So even the word evidence itself presupposes God. So I want to bring that up, and that people know that you just can't throw around terms without justifying them.
Right. Good point. Good point, brother.
Yeah, I love listening to Ken Hovind here. He really he's just straight on and hits you in the face with the reality of God's word, and also in historical truths, biological truths. It's all there in front of their faces.
But and that's why, like, I find if you watch a lot of Ken Hovind's university debates before he was, before he was in prison, he dominated in all those debates, and those were always like very structured. Like, it's hard to find almost discussion style debates back then, but recently, like when I host them and you host them as well, and we moderate his debates, I always make sure there's a good discussion period in there, because if the atheists, if they go into their opening statement and they just throw out so many things, they're just reading off their speech, and Hovind can't get to it. I've realized that in the discussion period, Hovind always dominates, because whatever
Yes.
or question they have, Hovind always answers it to a T, which means they can't just throw out, 5 or 6 arguments and run. They can't slap and run. It's going to be taken one topic at a time, and I think that's important.
Yes, absolutely. So is all of you there? Just make sure she's still here.
Yes, I am here. I'm very sorry.
Nice.
I just heard Olive. I was responding back to somebody on Facebook.
Oh, very good. Okay. So we'll get going here.
But I'm still paying attention though. So, and you guys are doing very good.
Yeah, this is fun. And we can send this around to, probably in Cloudless Engineer. Let him come on our channel. I'd love to have him on our channel and debate. Let's get him on here.
I think he's too worried about fans and his perception. Gotta,
Yeah,
So,
probably. His reputation.
yeah.
Proves
Okay.
that
I mean, I'll add flimsy reputation.
the Bible's correct and that evolution's wrong.
Okay. So you mentioned the 1,000 years not supported anywhere. I told you, clearly the Bible says people live to be 900, and clearly there are hundreds of legends of a golden age. So I gave, again, historical evidence for a time when people lived to be nearly 1,000. Why would there be legends of a golden age when people lived?
Oh, I have to plug this. Ron Matt came out with a video showing people live to be, really old ages. I really recommend people check that out. I think it's on Standing for Truth's channel.
Yeah, you can find it there.
Yeah. In fact, yeah, I'd like to promote that somehow because that's an awesome video. I mean, look, I can put it in the chat box. It's on. I'm gonna get it real quick.
All right, I'd even tell the audience to go watch Matt's debate with Nick Suter. And Nick Suter, he's a good debater. He's I think he's done a lot of different debates. Has he written books too, Matt? I'm not sure. He's
He's an author, a traveling lecturer. Yeah. He's done it all.
So he came in there and he actually gave up probably 3/4 into the discussion period because he didn't realize that you were the expert. But you even had him admit that yes, theoretically, based on everything you were saying and all the evidence you were given, man could possibly live to 900 and 1,000. Like, you literally got him to admit that. That was a great debate.
Yeah, he would have to ignore the genetics, and he wasn't willing to do that. So, which is a smart move. I mean, no, I don't see why you would.
And there's some other videos, Standing for Truth, you put out. Like maybe sometimes, like you could explain to people, like created heterozygosity. I'd like to know, like, because I'm not really familiar with that heterozygosity term, and maybe like that would be beneficial for people to understand that.
Yeah. Are you saying that you kind of cut out there for me a little bit? You want like a separate video, kind of just
like an explanation. Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, I think that's a good idea. That is a good idea.
Because I think that's a model that you're proposing that is testable and repeatable, like what they're asking for testable or something like that in the future, or future predictions. I've heard you mention that. I'd like to learn more about that.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good idea. And you know what? That could be just a short, quick. Actually, that would be a short, quick video that Matt and I can do. So you can check our playlist, but we've got a couple series. They're titled Biblical Creation Moments. I think we've got a few of those. And then another series titled Science Without the Fiction. We got a few little episodes of those. So going a little bit more into detail on heterozygosity and what that means and how that applies to creation. And what predictions it makes. I think that would fit in there nicely.
Heck
Hey, Matt?
yeah, that'd be cool. In fact, there's other videos I seen your guys' channel that you guys need to promote more and talk more about so people can get into this.
Yes,
Wow.
especially that one that I can see there, where the picture says D evolution mutation rates. Like that's a huge one, because I mean, it is now a fact. Like, humans are accumulating and passing on nearly 100 new mutations per person per generation. And if I had $1 for every time an evolutionist denied that fact, I'd be a very rich man. But it just shows that they're not up on the literature. And when you're accumulating that many mutations per generation, there's a problem there. Natural selection is going to have to do something, and it's clearly not, doing its job. So I'd recommend that one too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna keep going here. We'll probably watch some. I was looking, just trying to find that one with the old age thing. I don't know where it is. You have so many great videos in here.
We can definitely send it to you, Matt?
Yeah.
Is it like in the last week or 2 weeks or?
I think it was about a month ago, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's two different videos. There's one where there's the entire debate, and then there's one where it says, "Can man live to 900?" It should be.
Oh, okay.
Control F and hit 900.
Yeah.
Type in, it'll pop you right to it.
That's a simple way to find it.
Yeah, try that.
I just did it. I'm trying to. There's 2 of them. So, here it is. I'm gonna send this to the.
Now, we do find evidence for these extreme ages when we test their bone.
So I'm gonna put this into the chat box so people can look at. This is awesome stuff. And also, I'm going to put in the donation link too if people want to get involved with that.
And that's the thing too. Like, just like Hovind with man living to 900. I mean, the golden age, just hundreds and hundreds of legends from cultures all around the earth. Some that haven't even read the Bible before. And not only that, but it's directly in the Bible, which we are taking as a true historical account. But not only that, science itself proves it. So it's not just one thing that we're looking to. I mean, we're looking to historical records. We're looking to science.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're just not imagining this stuff and making it up as we go. We have actual empirical evidence of all this. It's pretty cool.
And they're in straight denial. I remember I was debating Jim Majors, and I just asked him, I said, be honest with yourself. Theoretically, if you had no mutations, you had a pure genome, no genetic mistakes, because that's exactly what a mutation is. It's a typographical error in a text. It's a mistake. There's nothing good about a mistake in your genetic code. If you had none, theoretically, don't you think you would live longer? Don't you think you would be healthier, less disease? I mean, disease is caused a lot of times by mutation. And even that theoretical question, he said, no. And I said, how can I debate somebody like that who won't even, because that's exactly what we're proposing. Adam and Eve, obviously their genome was pure. There were no genetic mistakes. The environment was pure. Everything was different than the world we know today.
Yeah.
That logically follows that man would have lived to 900, just as the Bible records.
Absolutely. Here, I like Javier's response here, his comment. This is probably similar with me. I used to believe in an old earth and evolution, but when I was studying my research, kept on telling me that the Bible is right, and now I'm a young earth creationist, no longer an evolution believer. And it's the same with me too. It's so awesome how this is coming around on people. Hopefully it continues.
It's amazing, brother. The second you emailed me that, I said, I screamed amen, because that's awesome, brother. You are an open-minded individual, and I'm really, and you've always rejected evolution. You've always hated evolution, which is awesome. And I'm so happy to hear that you've come around on that. And guess what? Genetics itself, which you love, biology, proves that the genome has to be young for many. And just like emotion and emotionally stunned emoticon, he said, theoretically plenty of things could be possible. Doesn't mean it actually happened though. But see, that's the point. You know, I asked Jim Majors, theoretically, is it possible? Once he says yes, just like Nick Suter, he said yes to Matt. You know, he was honest. Now let's look at the evidence. Let's get some supporting evidence. So now it's not just a hypothesis. And guess what? We've got historical accounts. We've got hundreds and hundreds of legends of the Golden Age. We can get into science. We can get into health, diet, which Ramat is obviously the expert in there.
Yeah.
Get into mutation accumulation. If we're accumulating 100 new mutations per person per generation, take that back to a point of least genetic entropy, least mutation accumulation. That would be a time of longevity, increased longevity. That just logically follows. You have to deny science to deny that fact.
Right. So the original genome is pristine, and it's much larger than ours today, because aren't we only like 30 or 40% of the, I mean, degraded down or something? I thought I've heard that before. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Like, and that goes to the, back to the heterozygosity in that we were created with DNA differences would be the way to. So if that information is being sorted out from a once perfect genome, you're right. We have lost information. You know, we have less total information than we would have had at creation. So yeah, no, that makes sense. And obviously a lot more genetic mistakes and mutations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And they've had a bunch of scientific research on this, that there's organisms with larger genomes, they live longer. So larger genomes are equated with older age. And I'm sure Matt covered that too in his video.
Well, yeah, Matt. What about the lobsters? Can you kind of go into a little bit of isn't there a specific antioxidant that lobsters have a higher percentage of, which is why they live to like 1,000 and humans have a lesser percentage? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. Lobsters have it. Great white sharks have it. All animals that have livers really have it. So let's take a look at a lobster, a sea turtle, a human being, and a great white shark. Okay, so human beings live for an average of about 80 years right now. So that's that in America. So that age group is usually based on how much metabolic enzyme potential the liver has. We secrete about, the human body secretes about 80 micrograms per milliliter, deciliter of an enzyme called superoxide dismutase. And this is very valuable and very important because as we age, that goes down. And when we run out of this metabolic enzyme, we age dramatically fast. It's like a ball rolling down a hill. The faster the momentum gets, faster we age. Some animals, though, like a sea tortoise, they make about 250 milligrams in their lifetime, and they roughly live about 250 years. Then we have about a lobster, which has a tendency to make it almost an unending amount. Every time their levels start to drop, they just boost it up again. We don't actually know how much they make in a day because what you have to do to test the metabolic enzyme potential is actually kill one and test their liver. And it's not really worth doing that to the lobster. So they're assuming that the lobster has an unending amount of superoxide dismutase. And so far they found that the more metabolic enzyme potential that an animal has of this, the longer they'll live. And that's just based on the liver. Now imagine fewer mutations. Now imagine better genetics. And all those things happen when you go back in time. So we're just talking about one element of the genome. So when people go, well, what is information? Information is the genome. It's everything. It covers your entire genome. So when people are talking about, well, genetic entropy isn't true, it's like, look, we're talking about everything. We're talking about the Y chromosome going extinct, the mathver gene breakdown, the gene loss, gene replication errors, genes that have no function or vestigial genes, DNA repair failing, ultraviolet damage, which causes more mutations, error in DNA replications, new rare diseases, cancer mutations. We have rare junk DNA that causes disease from de novo mutations. We have mutation accumulation, which Standing for Truth knows all about from genetic entropy. We have neuron mutation accumulation. We have epigenetic modifications that result in errors. We have deletions, copying errors, carcinogens, glycation. My God, how long can you go on?
Exactly. You can go on and on. It's amazing.
Right.
And you got these science denialists just, I don't know what they're doing. But
How could you deny that stuff? It's right. I mean, it's right in front of our face. There's 6,000 genetic disorders out there. More now. I mean, there's probably more. But last time I checked, there was 6,000. There could be many more now.
Oh no, there's 6,000 that go into the database every 3 months.
right.
So yeah, that's how
Well, I mean,
fast.
how many people do you know that go to the doctor with 3 or 4 different symptoms, and then the doctor sends them away for all these different tests, and months later the doctor's like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, there's so much that you know, the doctors and scientists of the world don't even know. I mean, how many people get cancer? What is it now, Matt? Like 1 in 3 almost?
Oh, what's that? Sorry, what was that question?
Cancer. Isn't it like
Oh,
1
yeah.
in 3
Yeah,
people
1 in
now?
3 people. Yeah, 1 in 3 people. They're expecting cancer mutations to actually double in the next 10 years. So that'll be 1 out of every 2 people will have cancer.
Right. And you can see that, you know, autoimmune diseases are everywhere. Autism is obviously on the rise. There's obviously a genetic component there. Environment too. Environment is huge. I mean, epigenetic change versus, say, just mutational change. But a lot of that is due to environment. The water we're drinking, the foods we're drinking, the chemicals we're exposed to, the heavy metal toxicity. You know, was this the environment of the pre-flood world? And you could just see the steady decline from creation to the flood to post-flood. It's the same type of decay curve that you see with the accumulation of mutations. And Dr. John Sanford has an awesome graph that he's got laid out in his technical papers that correlates perfectly. I mean, did these authors of the Bible, of the early chapters of the Old Testament, did they have all this vast knowledge in population genetics and mathematics and all this stuff? No, of course not. You know, this isn't just pure coincidence.
Absolutely, a great point. So I'll keep going here, watch a little bit more. I'm gonna let you get going here, standing for truth, because I know you've been up a little bit late now. So
Sweet, thanks, brother. Yeah, go ahead.
Lived to be 1,000 and died peacefully in their sleep. I didn't make people that never heard of the Bible have these legends. So I didn't just give biblical evidence. I gave historical evidence, John.
Kent, there are legends of a dragon that enters the upper atmosphere and swallows the sun. Is that correct?
Well, this is called a red herring. You're diverting.
right, he's trying to obfuscate what Ken Hoven's saying. It's a tactic. It's one of these tactics that's something that's completely unrelated, non sequitur to what Ken's bringing up. I mean, yeah. I mean, come on, God, let's grow up for real. I mean, come on. At least try to have an intellectual debate here, and not with these antics.
It's diverting because it's exactly like, for example, during discussions or debates with evolutionists, where I bring up historical accounts or ancient pictures and depictions of, say, dinosaurs, and they look exactly the same as what we know dinosaurs really look like. And then they'll bring up like, wow, you know, didn't the ancients believe in the Cyclops or just other mythical creatures, right? Or aliens, you know, there's stories of aliens, but it's like, you're missing the whole point. You're just like you said, he's diverting, because when it comes to dinosaurs and the legends of dragons, they look like real animals that we know existed.
Yes, with the long tail and stuff.
Right, and then they want to divert to just some mythical, you know, creatures that we know and have no evidence that ever existed, or aliens. It's just, yeah, it's.
Matter of fact, they even came up with the Cyclops because they found the bones of an elephant, and when they stood it up, they made it look like a human being, and they thought the eye in the center was a gigantic eye, because if you actually look at the skull of an elephant, they actually have what looks like a Cyclops skull.
Wow, that's amazing.
The point.
No. You brought up legends. Hold on. You're saying
So he's like he's equivocating the old age accounts of the history with old ages. Now he's equivocating with legends. So he's already calling it a legend without demonstrating any evidence it is a legend. See these tactics that they go through. I mean, these are the same tactics that atheists employ all the time. It's like they're going by a script, and that's the only thing they can cling on to.
It's a red herring. It's not. Because you brought up how legends prove your point, and I'm saying that there are legends out there that are obviously wrong, so why do you think that these legends are correct?
But, I mean, does it follow just because some are legends? That doesn't make them all legends? That doesn't follow. It's a non sequitur.
Exactly. It's like, hey, look at these legends of dragons. And then the word dinosaur wasn't invented till 1841. What was dinosaurs referred to in the past? Dragons. We see historical accounts, depictions, and then they want to bring up aliens. You know, it's completely non sequitur. They don't want to actually address the evidence.
No, they don't, and because it becomes, like I was saying, it becomes awkward when they get confronted with the existence of God of the Bible. That's when it gets really awkward for them. They don't like that. It's cognitive dissonance there. It's a psychological condition.
Right, you're absolutely right.
Well, I'm pointing out that it is supported. It supports what the Scripture also clearly teaches. There's certainly historical evidence that this happened. There are legends that an amoeba turned into a whale.
That's spot on, Ken. I mean, he makes great points here.
The stupid legend of evolution teaches that. Why do you believe such a thing? That's a legend.
Wait, hold on. Say that again?
A single-celled creature like an amoeba turned into a whale. Do you believe whales and humans and mosquitoes have a common ancestor?
Man, he is a pro at that. That is so awesome.
He's the pro at triggering.
Yeah.
How can you believe in that legend, John? And I like how he keeps calling him John.
And he makes him look like a fool because that's what he is. That's a fool would only believe in such lunacy.
I don't know how anybody takes Godless Engineer serious with his tactics, with the way he debates, with the way he carries himself in these debates too, or just he curses. Wait till you get to the whale vestigial part. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah, and he's classless. Yeah, see, you'll know people have class like Hovind. I mean, he conducts himself with class and respect, but atheists do not do that.
Okay. Well, I'll address this, but I want to say that this is not actually the debate that's being had.
Well, you say you debunk the Bible. Okay, go ahead.
Huh?
You say one of your things is to go around debunking the flood or debunking the Bible, and so I just thought you must believe in evolution. That's the only alternative.
No. I mean, I debunk creationism, but yeah.
Yeah, right. And why don't you ever address standing for truth and raw mad? I would love that. I mean, in fact, I might even send him money if he did that. I might even send him a little check in the mail if he actually addressed standing for truth. If you hear this, Godless Engineer, I will send you a check in your mail if you freaking address raw mad and standing for truth. I mean, spread it to the world. I want to see you address them straight up too, not this this malarkey that you bring in there and all these dishonest tactics. Do it for real, intellectual. I want to see it. I want to see the scientific literature. I want to see it. So let it go from there.
So is that how you think evolution actually works?
I can show you straight from the textbooks. I'm sitting in a room with hundreds of them. An amoeba.
No, do you think an amoeba turns into a whale?
Over millions of years, the amoeba, they have lines on paper connecting the whale, the human, and the amoeba.
So here we go with a deflection now. They're trying to, because they know it becomes really awkward that their belief system is this, crazy to believe in.
Yeah, exactly. Like even, and they don't even see it, right? And even emotion in the chat, right? What did he say? Same exact thing as Godless Engineer pretty well. Single cells never turned into whales. They evolved over generations. So it's exactly what Hovind's about to tell Godless Engineer, that they hide it in deep time. Incremental changes in allele frequencies over time. time is literally their God. But the thing is, just like when I debated Godless Engineer, I told him time is not your God, because they believe time is the hero of the plot. It's actually the enemy of the plot for them, because more time leads to more extinction, leads to more mutation accumulation. More time isn't going to take your single-celled ancestor into a whale. It's make-believe, imagination, storytelling. That's really all it is.
Great point. And like I think you made an analogy one time about flying, Mary Poppins flying. Like, if do you think over millions of years that Mary Poppins can fly?
Yeah. What was the exact? Yeah. If I were to tell you that, Mary Poppins could fly quickly through the air with her umbrella, you'd say that's a fairy tale. But if I told you that Mary Poppins could fly slowly through the air with her umbrella, well,
That is so good. That is so good.
if Superman flew slowly through the air, that's literally what they. If that prince kissed the frog and turned into a princess, that's a fairy tale. if the frog turns into a prince over successive generations, now it's science, right?
Yeah, no, it's science.
So they got to hide it in science is what they have to do. So I mean, they have to hide it in deep time.
Look at that. That guy Matt Bond just said, "Godless Engineer is a software developer." How come I don't believe that?
Oh,
From
gosh.
listening to him talk, his logic is pretty bad. I can't imagine him doing that. Or maybe that's just his job title and he sits in an office with all kinds of people. But I don't see him. What would his IQ test rank as? Probably what, 80, at best.
Yeah, it's suspect when you believe in this evolution stuff.
Well, listen to him debate. He's horrible. Makes himself look horrible. And he thinks he did good. He comes back to debate again. Are you kidding me? That's like getting my ass kicked in the ring and going, maybe next time.
But he doesn't bring anything anything with citations, nothing, scientifically that's credible. All it is just him blabbermouthing about his bigotry about creation. That's all he's doing, is just venting that.
Yeah, what in reality, he should be mad at evolution. Compare evolution to young Earth creation and what we would think of with medicine. We're looking at genetic entropy. We're looking at the genetic sequences of things. We're trying to figure out how to get rid of diseases. Like the CRISPR-Cas9 is a concept that we can reactivate these dormant genes that have been turned off or that are hindered, so we can make people live longer and get healthier. But they just say, it's okay, we'll evolve, we'll figure this problem out on its own. And in reality, what they're doing is they're removing the tonsils, which help produce the body antibodies to fight polio. How many people died of polio because they were removing the tonsils? Or how about the appendix? Or how about the gallbladder? All these things were evolutionary leftovers. If they could, they would probably remove your damn tailbone, but you can't. It's ridiculous. They remove vital things because of their evolutionary theory, and then they say creationism is harmful. Get out of here.
Right. Yeah. They'll say that creation's not useful. Evolution is advancing science, but the thing is, evolution's actually hindering science, and for all the reasons you just said. I mean, 100 years ago, how many vestigial organs were listed? Over 100. Now there's none, or the evolutionists will argue that 2 or 3 are vestigial, but they've actually hindered science. Dr. John Sanford, speaking at the National Institute for Health on human degeneration and how we can maybe slow it down, reduce mutation accumulation. This is taking things forward. But having that basic evolutionary assumption, that's what it leads to. Removing important organs, not looking at the total functionality of the genome. They assume it's all evolutionary leftovers. But you got intelligent design proponents actually predicting that the vast majority is functional, which means we're going to look to the genome for function, while the evolutionists aren't. They're hindering science is the whole point.
Right, and then there's also social repercussions too from this evolution. It's more racism with monkeys and stuff. There's just so many negative consequences that come with this evolution mythology. That's some other stuff too.
Absolutely.
That comes with it. So
It definitely, that mindset, that evolutionary mindset leads to racism, socialism, communism, Nazism. It's a fact. I mean, it's not good for society in general.
No, yeah, yep. And then eugenics and.
Remember standing when you were debating that guy James the atheist? Even he admitted it was.
Yeah, that was. Jim Majors. Yeah, he admitted.
Yeah, he admitted.
Yeah, evolution is racist.
Yeah.
And everybody just. And they destroyed him after that, and he had to apologize and everything. It was in the after show on Jackson Wheat's channel. They were really giving it to him.
Oh my gosh!
How dare you admit the truth, Jim? It is racist, like.
I mean, from the horse's mouth, though. Even Darwin himself. I mean, they all thought that the Negro was a less ape than the white apes. I mean, come on, really?
Like, for example, Matt in the chat, emotion. He said over 100, and there's still vestigial. So let's say the tonsils or the appendix, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you just give a couple reasons why? Because now they'll say that these so-called vestigials are not completely useless. They might have some leftover function or a different function.
Right. See, they have in their mind that vestigial just means it's lost its primary function, right? And so they think our appendix was used for breaking down plant cellulose like it is in every other ape. But guess what? It's not like that in a human being. Ours was never used for breaking down plant cellulose because we were designed to eat fruit, not plants. So what happened is our appendix is actually used to produce killer T cells, or killer B cells, like our thyroid produces killer T cells. So it's a backup immune system, and that's what its design is. It never lost its primary function because that was never its function to begin with. So that's just another kind of example how the concept has. They pushed it on everybody, and now they say, see, it's just evolutionary leftovers. It's just kind of junk now. It had a process, but it's lost it. So
it's like they're looking at similar parts on a motorcycle or a boat or a car and saying that it should all be used for the exact same thing. You know what I mean? The appendix in a human is going to be different than an appendix in a different animal. And just like you said, the appendix is extremely important in the immune system roles. And people that remove their appendix, they end up experiencing issues, immune-related issues. And isn't the appendix, doesn't it harbor good bacteria for when you have digestive issues or issues with diarrhea? That good bacteria that's in the appendix helps you recover from that, right?
Yeah, it has a lot of health functions. Matter of fact, our appendix works almost the same as in a mouse. So they experiment on mice all the time, their appendix, to figure out actually what it does. Very, very simple.
It's the same thing, I think, with pseudogenes now, right? So now we know that these pseudogenes are not just inherited genetic mistakes. They're actually very important. They have very important functional roles in various different types of roles. So now they'll just say that these pseudogenes have now been given the ability through mutation or whatever means to have this important functional role, which is just an ad hoc rescue device.
Oh yeah. If we even think about the appendix, right? If we came from apes, then our appendix would do what it does in an ape, and it doesn't at all. If we matched more of a mouse appendix and less than an ape, that makes no sense at all, evolutionary wise, right? Just logical.
That's a very good point. Even like endogenous retroviruses, right? They're playing important roles as well, immune response roles in the placenta, and that's what they'll say is somehow it's been, turned on or whatever to have this important functional role. Just nothing ad hoc. You know what I mean? Like just by chance, these endogenous retroviruses are now important in the placenta and in the
and they're needed now. Yeah. So what did human beings do before the ERVs embedded itself and became useful? When they weren't having babies?
I mean, just so many extremely important DNA elements in order and necessary to sustain healthy life processes, whether it's the ALUs, the so-called pseudogenes, many, sequences and areas in the non-coding regions. And evolution really has no other explanation other than ad hoc rescue devices. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll play a little bit more here. If you got a good going here, SFT, just let us know and we can hit you up another time. And this has been so fun. I really enjoy this. I'm sure all the people in the chat's enjoying this too.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I think I got a couple more minutes in me.
Sweet.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what they're
we've got
teaching
another
the
10.
kids.
No,
Clearly, that's what they're teaching.
they're teaching the kids that single-celled life started out, and then many different organisms occurred, and we can trace those through the fossils, the fossil record, and we can figure out how.
I mean, but isn't the traditional definition of evolution that what it's been always taught is descent with slight modification, right?
Yeah.
So that to me, isn't that, well? That's what Ken's confirming. So what exactly is Godless Engineer squawking about?
Well, because exactly right. Like the way he's portraying it is Godless Engineer is pretty much going into his philosophy at this point. My religion says that a single-celled organism gave rise to
Whales or whatever, yeah.
Slowly over time, with
Yeah.
incremental changes, turned into a whale. Right? He's hiding it under he's hiding his philosophy within science. Nobody disagrees with change, but Hovind's getting right down to it because he really does, and these evolutionists really do believe that a bacteria-like organism or a single-celled ancestor evolved into a whale over time, of course, but
yeah, there's that secret buzzword time. So I guess
right.
Time somehow makes it magically happen.
Well, because they don't have evidence for it happening, they just invoke that it happened back then. That way they don't have to actually prove anything. Because I could say anything happened a long time ago. It's easy.
Yeah, pure ad hoc. That's ad hoc as ad hoc can get.
Well, I remember in Hovind's debate with Ludlow, Hovind actually cornered him pretty good in the discussion. I think if the entire Ludlow debate was just discussion, it would have been a lot better. But yeah, so the discussion period, he asked Bill, he said, dogs produce dogs. That's all we see, and yet you believe dogs and whales are related or whatever. And Bill said, well, of course we expect dogs to produce dogs. And Hovind said, but Bill, do you believe that dogs today came from something non-dog, long ago and far away? And he said, well, yeah, but that was just a long time ago. Like they don't even see that. They don't even see how philosophical and religious it is. And then Hovind said, that's the point, Bill. Long ago and far away. It's hidden in deep time because we can't go there. And Bill knows that. He's hiding it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just these, diversionary tactics and obfuscation. That's all it is. So he'll keep it a little bit more.
A land quadruped eventually turned into like whales and dolphins, and we know that.
Oh, it just eventually does it without any scientific evidence for it. It's pure. You're just extrapolating what your imagination tells you. That's all you're doing. And this is what me and Matt were talking about the other night. That evolution basically has to invent this stuff because I can't fly, so I'm gonna fly now. And to me, you have to apply an intelligence for evolution to work anyway. So either way, a mind is at work here.
We gotta pick a harder guy to debunk. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah, this is pathetic. Yeah, I'll keep this going for a few more minutes, and I guess we can probably get to our next thing and let you guys, because I'm sure you have your stuff you got to get to with your family and stuff.
That this happened, one of the main reasons is because they have vestigial hind legs that don't work and actually sometimes protrude from.
Yeah, okay, at least he's bringing something up. I mean, at least he has something he's regurgitated. I mean, before it was just venting his own, this spewing out his bigotry. But at least he has this vestigial stuff. But I'm sure that's been debunked so many times.
Well, watch right here. Watch Hoven's response, and then watch. And then Godless Engineer has absolutely no rebuttal other than a really immature comment. You'll see. Just keep it going.
In their bodies when they're caught. So evolution doesn't actually say what you're saying. You're really reducing it down, and it makes me feel like you think one day a amoeba split through asexual reproduction or whatnot, and a whale just immediately appeared. Is that what you're saying, or?
No, I think you're trying to hide the stupidity of the religion of evolution, because your religion does teach that whales and amoeba came from an amoeba over millions of years, and your idea that the whale has vestigial hind legs is showing your gross inadequacy in biology. The whale has bones in their abdomen that are used for mating. The whale.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, that's I forget what they call it. It's something to do with their. I mean, the whales would have like a huge. I'm not even going to say the word really because.
Yeah, exactly. Hoven explains that it's for reproduction.
Yes.
And
pubic bone. Yeah, it's a pubic bone. Is I think the official word of what it is. So. I'm looking at the chat. It's really rolling here. Is that what you think? Is that what it is? A pubic bone, right? Let's see for everyone.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and it's used to control accessory muscles for reproduction, for mating, right? Because they have a massive reproductive organ, and that's required. But yet, an evolutionist who is completely ignorant of biology is going to look at that and say, oh, look, this is evidence from a time when whales walked on land, right? Just imagine.
SpongeBob with just imagine.
and Hoven says exactly what we just talked about reproduction. And then as you're going to see here, Godless Engineer just giggles like a little schoolgirl, right? He comes to a debate about science, and you'll see his response.
Whales have a 15-foot penis. They have to mate underwater in the dark with no arms, and they can't talk and say scoot over. They got special muscles that have to move this thing around in the dark at 3,000 feet below sea level. Yes, that whale that's not a vestigial pelvis. They never had a leg.
That's just the reality of the situation, though. And you can see, look at his fan over his face here. You should make I'm sure you had video clips with the hand over his face like this.
Well, we've got some hilarious videos from this. Yeah, we've got some great videos. We'll send them to you after.
It's part of their mating system. Study some anatomy. I've got one of the bones here.
Wait, I'm sorry, Ken. You cut out there. They have a 15 what?
15? I didn't cut out. You heard me. Google it.
See, you know how perverted that is? This is where the minds are in the gutter. Atheist minds are in the gutter.
Actually, Hoven, because he uses the joke again, and Hoven says, John, are you a pervert? Because you really get excited every time every time that word's mentioned.
Yeah, and also those other two guys he did too with it was like the behind or something. Why were they talking about behinds for? It's really weird.
Yeah, I'll be honest. If I was an atheist, these aren't the guys that I would want defending my beliefs for me.
Yeah, representing my beliefs.
Yeah, these are representing my position.
That's pretty pathetic. So keep a little more.
It yourself. Whales have to mate underwater in the dark they can't talk, and they have no arms. This is part of the reproductive system, John. You need to study your whale anatomy before you claim that's a vestigial hind leg sticking out of their body. You are mistaken. Will you admit you are wrong? Will you admit you are wrong on that? Whales are not evidence for evolution. They don't have a whale. And even if they did, that would be losing something, not gaining something. The only
no, actually, it's proof of change. They didn't necessarily lose something. They just changed with the environment that they're in, which is still part of evolution. So they didn't lose anything. They just changed to suit their environment, and it happened over millions of years.
Oh yeah, just or inject millions of years and that makes it true. I mean, come on, that is so ridiculous. But also, why don't good old Godless Engineer explain where whales evolved from? Did you know they believe that the whales evolved from a dog? You know how stupid that is? And, and how much imagination that takes to do that. Richard Sternberg, I don't know if you guys have heard him. Richard Sternberg, he's a
Yes.
genomist.
Yeah.
And he went through the marvels that it takes through like the if you're like an engineer to be an engineer even to it's an engineering feat itself through like shipyards if they were going to do that from like a little boat to a ship, how much that's required. It's even really Luna. It's basically impossible even from an engineering perspective.
Oh yeah, and Richard Sternberg too. I believe he's the one that debated. I think it was a 2-on-2. He debated with Stephen Mayer, and I think it was what's his name, Michael Shermer. But yeah, he goes over, and not only him too, Jonathan Wells, but all the different types of changes. Like even what he's talking about here, right? The reduction of the hind limbs, reduction of the pelvis, for example. But literally, like for that type of change, like a dog-like animal to go into a whale, I mean, you're literally going to need reorganization of the musculature for the reproductive organs. You're going to need the origin of tail flukes, origin of blubber. I mean, you can literally go on and on. The emergence of the blowhole with nerve control and muscle attachment. But he goes over, Richard Sternberg, he analyzes that, like you said, and the amount of time that supposedly this dog-like animal, Pakicetus, evolved into a whale is so short, even according to evolutionary time frame, that those amount of changes are absolutely impossible.
Yeah,
There's literally no mechanism to allow for that type of change, those complex adaptations. So even if you believe in evolution, you have a huge problem because a couple million years ain't going to do it.
Yeah, it's an engineering impossibility. But here's another thing too. Is it true that whales have echolocation, or am I wrong on that? I mean, there's some type of sonar technology they have with their speech or whatever.
With their echolocation?
Yeah, I think they either talk to whales through some type of thing, or they actually have echolocation. I'm not sure though.
Right. Well, yeah, you can touch on that better, right, Matt? Like the dolphins, bats.
Bats use kind of a sonar because they fly at night, so they don't rely on that. But whales, yeah, they're a communication. They slam on the water and they make clicking sounds. It's just some type of echolocation, I'm sure.
Yeah,
they can communicate super long distance, even across the entire ocean. So
now,
what about?
Yeah, go ahead. Somebody.
Well, what about even so if they're going from like a land animal into an aquatic animal, then they're going to need some pretty significant modification of their eyes for underwater vision. I mean, that alone.
Matter of fact, here's a great example. Kent Hovind is debating a guy. This is a long time ago. They're at a college, and he's debating a biologist. And Kent asks him, goes, what would have to happen genetically for a land mammal to go into the ocean? He said, every single gene would have to change its function. Every one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's a biologist saying that every gene would have to change what it does. That's how ludicrous that would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about even the birthing process? So now these whales have to, like the fetus has to be delivered in a breech position for labor underwater. Like you're right, every single change. And then underlying those changes on a genetic level, every single gene needs to change. I mean, this is why, like Ray said, this is pure imagination.
Yeah, and this is, talk about things that are just way out there. I asked Emotionally Son of Moshe Khan in the last debate when he had with Hovind that, are you aware that it takes 2 different evolutions for echolocation to work? And he goes, yeah, I'm aware of that. When one is basically, incredibly, stupendously impossible.
Yeah.
So you're gonna really believe 2 evolutions happen? I mean, that's so ridiculous to believe such a thing.
Well, I mean, how many times do they say the eye evolved separately? You know,
and wings. Remember, everything has wings. Fish have wings. Insects have wings. Squirrels, mammals have wings. Birds have wings. Lizards. The reptiles, they have wings. Like literally every species has wings. So that means that flight evolved like 4, 5, or 6 different times.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, convergent evolution, because they'll always say, phylogeny and everything, all life fits into a nice, neat nested hierarchy. But the thing is, it's not true, because every time it doesn't fit in nice and neatly, they have to invoke convergent evolution. That's why your question the other day, Praise, was brilliant, because it really exposes how inconsistent their tree of life really is.
Yeah, and in fact, there is no tree of life anymore. Several biologists have came out and plainly said it. There is no tree of life. What's his name? There's a bald dude, and he was with Richard Dawkins and some other in a panel there.
Yeah, that was good. We've got that in some of our videos. It's more of like a bush of life.
Yeah. So, and that's what we would adhere to too, because if you look at the Cambrian explosion, you have several different philo groups that evolved,
right.
Simultaneously or really quickly, and I guess, and so they would have to contend with that, evolutionists.
Oh, absolutely. That's why, even Emotion, in the debate I had with him the other day, he kept bringing up the fossil record. And, I kept telling him over and over again, 95% of the fossil record is easily explainable through intelligent design, through creation. It's kind of random. What do you see? You see stasis, abrupt fossil appearance, extinction. The other 5% that they can cherry pick, right? Some of the mosaics, Archaeopteryx, Tiktaalik, that is exactly expected in our model too. Like overall, the fossil record does not support evolutionary theory and descent with modification. That's fact.
Yeah, and it's Greg Venter. I remember his name now. So that's the guy who the universal common ancestry is, even evolutionists say that's untrue. So whoever believes in universal common descent, all you got to do is watch Greg Venter talk about the tree of life, the universal common ancestry. It's impossible chemically, even, because we're not. He says if we're related to some type of chemical thing, we would be burned to death. So, even you have to raise it up a little bit, evolutionists, to thinking a little bit. Yeah, good point, One Way. I'm more of a fan of asking about the philosophical implications of biological evolution, not the scientific stuff is worthless. Yeah, the scientific stuff to me is not worthless because it shows the glory of God. The incredible design, the sophistication, all the stuff that He's put in there for us. We have systems upon systems that God put in for us. So, I don't necessarily agree, but I know where you're going with it, One Way. I just don't necessarily agree, though.
And even like the redundancy of our genetic code that the evolutionists will actually look to and scoff at us, right? Why would he reuse the code? But the thing is, even that is genius design. For example, why is there a spare tire in my car? That's in case if I get a flat tire, I got another tire at my expense. Why is there spare tires in our genetic code? Redundancy is important. One gene is broken down and then you got another gene that can take over for it. Like that is genius. You look at redundancy in computer code and you think that that's genius, but you look at redundancy in the human genetic code and you look at that as evolutionary processes. Like it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. And here's another thing. They like to throw this word science around, but I don't think, evolutionists know what that word entails. Because did you know the word science presupposes truth? It's a truth claim. Because it's what you observe and test and all your results, it has to be true or false. So that's another thing too. Even the stuff they claim is science, where does the truth value come, around? How do you justify all that? God is required for science.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems is when we're in school, we're taught a lot of classes that are actual facts, right? Like we take math. Math is a 2 plus 2. It's always 4. You know what I mean? So we're getting these absolutes, these things that are actual facts, and then we hop into this philosophical evolutionary class, and we believe it like 2 plus 2. That's one of the biggest problems. So people get indoctrinated so deep that they can't even question it, and they can never actually see past it because of what's formed in our mind. They're like, wait, that can't not be true. You know, it has to be. That's what everyone's told me. That's what everyone believes. It's got to be true.
Yeah, and originally science was a branch of philosophy. So you'll hear the atheists will say, no, we just believe in science. We don't need to believe in a Bible. Well, actually, you do need to believe in the Bible to even have a justification for science. I mean, I'm so sick of these where these atheists arbitrarily try to hijack things like science. So I mean, start pushing. Atheists, and start, especially Christians. I recommend to do that because they'll try to hijack these words like science without justifying it. There's an epistemology that's attached to science. So I want to make that point that it's not arbitrary when you want to justify science.
So that's not.
There's a picture of the bones right here you're referring to. The textbook says, many organisms retain traces of their evolutionary history. For example, the whale retains pelvic and leg bones as useless vestiges. And your books do show all of the creatures going back to a common ancestor, the whale.
Uh-oh, look at it. He doesn't want that being revealed. Look at that. He's starting to...
And it's right in the textbook. There it is. Can't deny. And he admits it here. He says, well, yeah, but, I think he appeals to time or something again.
Yeah, it's some diversionary tactic tonight. I mean, it's like, I don't even think atheists really want to be attached or associated with these type of things with their belief system, but they have to because they reject God. It's like, it's like one of those things you have to accept, whatever, to be part of it.
Well, it's funny because it's more so the militant atheists and evolutionists that we debate online. Because in person, at work, in my daily life, I know a lot of agnostics. I know a lot of people that claim to be atheists. And when they find out that, I reject evolution, we have about a 5-minute conversation. And it always ends the same. They end up admitting, yeah, pine trees and whales being related, that does kind of sound silly. And they usually just say, well, I don't believe anything at all. And they kind of admit, like, well, yeah, I don't really want to believe that either. And that's most people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silly. Most people see the silliness of pond scum to people evolution, but they also don't want to believe in God. So they just say, well, I don't want to believe in anything. But your militant evolutionists, they'll fight it to the death.
When people say they don't believe in anything at all, that's where that right there's a belief, though.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I would say. That's a belief right there. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, so it's just like they don't want the baggage that come, or to be in the it's really awkward when you don't want God in your life, but like he's right there. Like they don't want to be associated with that, what comes with repenting and going in sin. They can't handle becoming a Christian because it requires a life change, and that's the whole thing. That's the problem.
Well, that is the problem, exactly, because once they admit there's a God, especially the God of the Bible, now they're admitting they have a disease, and that disease is a sin disease, and they don't want to acknowledge their sin because God exposes their sin.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's the sin that prevents them from turning to God, not the science.
Yeah. There's nothing intellectual or scientific that's keeping them from going to or believing in God. Nothing.
Well, look at this question that Stunted Emojicon asked. My question would be, why is the design of God limited to phylogeny? It's kind of like saying, well, I can't figure out why God would have designed the things the way that he did. Therefore, God didn't create things. Right?
Yeah, this is completely arbitrary to do that. Yeah, that's self-refuting to me.
Yeah. If an intelligent designed us, then he obviously designed us poorly based on my judgment of the human mind. Therefore, God didn't design us. That's kind of like what he's getting at, I guess.
Yeah, I guess like I mean, do you want like a postcard from God and like our genome or something? I don't know what you mean by that emotion. I wish you, but also like who made you arbiter? Or I'm not specifically coming down on emotional, but others too, like other atheists that are evolutionists. Who made you arbiter of what design should be or what constitutes design? You're nothing. Who cares about your opinions of what that is? We have other methods to determine complexity in design, like information, irreducible complexity. Those are empirical evidences of design.
Yeah, that's why they just throw around like random stuff, like because it could just anything can happen according to them. Magic can happen because God made us with magic, so therefore magic should be part of everyday life.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what it comes down to. We're not limited to phylogeny because magic flows through our bodies and every animal and bird and plant as well. It's just crazy.
So maybe like does like emotionally want us to fly or something, like be able to fly away in the sky. It's like fairy tale.
That was the Aaron Roth thing. Remember, he came out with this phylogeny challenge, and it was like, prove that we were made through magic. Prove that something inside of human beings is magical. It's kind of okay, whatever.
Yeah, of course, that's begging the question, you know, like he's going to believe that God has to be magic, therefore nothing can ever be proven except it be magic for God. So it's all circular. It's a misrepresentation of God anyway. They don't, I mean, to me, either, I don't really know what the deal is, why they can't just, you know, take God square on and, you know, honestly and legitimately and trying to do these stupid tactics with magic and stuff. I don't understand that. I mean, it's so stupid, a waste of time.
It's weird because Aaron Ross supposedly was raised with the Bible. He would know that God hates magic and people that perform magic. So it's actually a huge straw man because magic has nothing to do with what God wants. So.
Yeah, it's especially when, you know, I see people like Aaron Ra that characterize God as, you know, the sky daddy or a magician. I mean, it's just an absolute misrepresentation of the God of the Bible.
Yeah, yeah.
And right off the bat, when I hear that, I think, okay, this guy's not going to have anything of any real substance.
And if you look at the etymology of the word magic too, it has to do with like sleight of hand. And if you want to get down to that, I could say, what does sleight of hand have to do with God? I mean, you can bring it right back on him.
Right, that's a good point. That's a good point, Praise.
They play the word games. They play the word games back with them. Like, it make them look like the fool. Because it's really a foolish argument and like a childish argument. You'll bring it back on him and be a child back to him. This is what Ken Hoven's so good at. Ken Hoven knows how to bring it right back on him.
Wales. He's had how many years experience though?
Yeah. He's a master of his craft, and I enjoy watching him. In fact, he's made me, you know, learn some things I never knew before, really, with his presentations. He comes with, I mean, the information and the knowledge. I mean, he comes with the citations and all that stuff. I don't see anyone else that debates him really show their presentations contrary. I mean, come on, can't one atheist do that?
Actually, that's a good point. Like, he's got, what does he have, 40,000 slides or something, all with citations. He's been doing it for 30 years, 40 years, and you can't, and he's using the same slides. You know, people have had all this time to study his style, to look up the citations, and there's been no serious, you know, rebuttal or debunking.
No. I've never seen any genuine, valid response to Kevin or Hoven. No, from no one. Not even Aaron Raw, Bill Ludlow. I've never seen not one. So that tells you the credibility of evolution online, at least. Now there could be others outside the social, you know, communities, but I don't know. I'd like to see it. Social media, yeah.
The fish, the humans, the starfish, the mosquitoes, the clams, all having a common ancestor, which was single cell. That's what they're teaching in the biology books. That's
right,
what
because that's actual science. And I love how you pulled up.
That's actual science.
Yeah, that's a self-contract. That's an oxymoron.
Okay, so Godless Engineer just wasted 10 minutes fighting Hovind on the whole single-celled organism to whale comment. And we get to this part where Hovind shows him it right from the textbook. And what does he say? Well, that's actually science. No, I don't think you know what science means or is, Godless Engineer.
Right, and science means testable, observable in real time. Empirical. So show me what is observable and testable about anything in evolution without imposing speculation and conjecture. So who's Logic, standing for truth? You ever heard of him?
Oh yeah, Logic. Yeah, so he's made a few video rebuttals, and Ken Hovind will debate him anytime. I'll debate him anytime. But you know what? You can write Logic debates in YouTube and you won't find any. He's just one of those guys that has made a couple videos that have gotten somewhat popular, but the arguments are weak. Actually, you know what? There we go. I think that was a sign. Maybe he'll be I think he's got a pretty big channel, so he can be the one that we debunk next.
Yes, I was about to mention that maybe we could all debunk his video, then send it to him, and then see if we'll even challenge him.
Beautiful, great idea. Yes, let's actually. You know what? That's a perfect idea.
Sweet.
I'll add him to the list.
And he'll cower it out. Let's emotionally stunted. We're gonna put him on the line and see his credibility. And when we challenge him, we send it to him, and if he doesn't respond to that, he doesn't want to debate, standing for truth and raw math, that shows you that your belief system of evolution is trash. That's all it is trash.
Exactly. I'm gonna watch his videos, and because that's a lot of what these evolutionists do is they'll make a video, and when called out on it, that's it. Like for example, this Rachel Oates that has made all these videos debunking Hovind, and Hovind's been responding to her every day. Every video he says, why don't you just come on and we'll just have a discussion or a debate instead of these video responses. And she said, no, she won't do it. But yet she'll spend hours and hours making these videos. What are they scared of? Any belief worth having should be a belief worth defending. So what are they scared about?
Exactly. We're gonna start putting him on the line a little bit, and either poop or get off the pot. You're gonna try to at least show some type of type of credibility, and if you're a fake, otherwise.
An actual thing that talks about how there's a leg bone in a whale.
They're calling it a leg bone, and it's not a leg bone. This is a biology textbook. There's the reference for it. The book's right on the shelf. I'm pointing out the books are lying. It's not a leg bone. It's part of their reproductive system.
Look at him. He looks all confused now or something, like it's a cognitive dissonance starting to kick in maybe.
Textbook says, just imagine whale. Here they are right here in the Los Angeles Museum. There's the bones. That's not a remnants of a leg bone. If it was losing a leg, that would be an example of losing, not gaining.
Can I ask something? You think that those little bones right there can control a 15-foot penis?
Those bones do control the whale's mating system. They're different in the male and female.
You've got a number
some whale anatomy. But if that's the best you've got for evidence for evolution, that's an example of losing, not gaining. Dolphins have similar bones in their abdomen. It's not a vestigial leg. You guys are lying when you teach that.
One sec.
It's not a vestigial leg.
Hold on one sec. I just
National Pornographic says it.
Got people in the live chat asking if we could go back to the flood of Noah, and I think that's just
the bone right there.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that I went down this particular track. My bad. I shouldn't have indulged myself. Okay, so let me ask you this: you said that James Hutton was an evolutionist?
I didn't say he's an evolutionist. He's one of the first ones to teach the Earth is millions of years old. He began.
My bad. I misheard.
Revolution. I don't know what he believed on evolution. His theory of the Earth being millions of years old started all this. See, without millions of years, the evolution theory looks real stupid. I think it looks stupid with millions of years, but without the millions, gee, now it's a frog turning to a prince with a kiss.
He's such. I love his comments, man.
I love how he throws that in there. Eh? You know, it looks stupid even with millions of years. But it looks really stupid with only thousands of years. Either way, they got nothing.
He's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of creation, where he does these comments. They're so good.
and I think Godless Engineer's goal was to get in here and be the one to throw the comments at him, and yet he got the comments thrown at him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Kent's got some really good wit there. And have you noticed there's been no rebuttal yet to Kent's argument about those bones being used for reproduction?
Yeah,
he brought it up.
And yeah, he has no citation to show otherwise. And there's nothing there. It's just all his own. It's like anecdotes.
And I think coming up is where Hovind calls him a pervert, which is pretty funny. And then I think that's when I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah,
I'll leave with a bang.
Yeah. But Wildheart says, "Hey all, just don't understand how you think that 99.99% of scientists are wrong and lying what they do with their living." I mean, see, that's a distortion from right there at your stats. That's not true, Wildheart. All you got to do is go to descentfromdarwin.com. There's thousands of scientists that descended from Darwin. I mean, that's just the beginning. Then we have organizations of scientists that are young Earth creationists that don't adhere to evolution. That is a distortion. So that's a no true Scotsman fallacy anyway. Also, that's an appeal. It's an appeal to authority, or a bandwagon fallacy. You can't just say, "Oh, because these scientists say something doesn't make it true."
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, Praise. You got that right on.
Yeah, I mean, I love Wildheart, but I mean, come on, Wildheart. You know a little bit better than that, buddy. Come on. Just trying to give it place a little bit.
But somehow in your mind, if the frog takes millions of years, it'll turn to a prince. Oh, that's science. It's still a fairy tale. So James Hutton just supplied the magic ingredient of millions of years in the imagination of the evolutionists. There you go. There's the whale's bones right there, and that's what it controls. Do some whale anatomy study, and you will see, wow.
Wait, what does it control? What does it control?
You get all excited about that topic, don't you, John? Are you a pervert or something?
Oh, that is the line of the year. You get really excited over that, don't you, John? You a pervert or something? And no response, just totally told off.
Yeah, and like I'm thinking atheism breeds like depravity and stuff, so that's where that's going with that. So yeah, there's nothing that's fruitful or beneficial at atheism. It's so despicable and disgusting, some of the stuff they go to with their imaginations and stuff.
Well, that's Godless Engineer is the fruit of atheism. So
yeah, sexual degeneracy.
If you're an atheist, that's who you're looking up to. Anyways, Praise, I want to thank you.
Oh man, I enjoyed this tonight. Thank you, man.
Brother. Thanks for all the help.
Thank you too for participating, and God bless you. I'll look forward
and
to
good night and sweet dreams.
Thank you so much, Olive. It's been a pleasure. It's been a good night. Raw Matt, brother. Pleasure as always. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man. See you.
See you, man.
God bless.
Bye, guys. That was fun.
Yeah. See you, man. At least for coming in too. We appreciate that.
Oh, and good night, Matt, and sweet dreams. It was fun having you here.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Very good.
Yeah, those two are awesome together.
They are. They really are. It's like a powerhouse.
So, yeah, well, I guess we can do a little bit more of the video and maybe do some other things. I don't know. I mean, it's like it gives me like a headache watching Godless Engineer for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's been on for a long time, and you guys did an amazing job. So
yeah,
I mean, this was over before it even began.
It's so ridiculous, this evolution stuff.
Okay, God created reproduction. It's perfectly fine, and the whales have to do that to make baby whales, and those are not a vestigial of
Yeah, I mean, does he need to know with the birds and the bees? Come on, Godless, really?
Leg bone. I'm pointing out you're mistaken or you're lying. It's not a vestigial pelvis. It's part of their reproductive system. It's in all the books because that's the best evidence you guys have.
One sec. So sorry.
It's
I
stuff
hate to
like
interrupt,
this.
Look,
but
we're still on evolution, and we need to get back to the flood. I tried to change
Okay.
that, but I brought up. I'm sorry, I brought up the whole evolutionist thing. My bad. I'm sorry about that.
Not a problem.
So what other questions do you have for me, Kent, about the flood?
Well, you mentioned that gravel is formed from simple erosion. Would you show me where this happens in layers that are thousands of square miles of rounded gravel? And you mentioned that the earth is turning, the rocks are turning with the earth. I understand that. I taught physics. I can explain it to you carefully. I said, if you'll listen to the tape, when the moon pulls the water up, the water has to rush sideways. It's true the earth is turning, but if there's a high tide here and a low tide here, all that water had to come from sideways. It is sideways movement of water during the tidal change. I didn't say that rocks aren't moving with the earth. Of course they are. That's common sense 101. But when you get the water being lifted up or pulled up by the moon like a magnet or gravity, the water has to rush to fill that bump. That's what's going to cause the erosion, underwater erosion, and the rounding of the gravel.
My bad, because when I heard you talk before, it sounded like you were trying to make up some kind of explanation for it or something like that. If water erosion is why you say that there are rounded rocks and everything, then I would agree.
And they're worldwide. There are trillions of them, of rounded rocks.
Yeah, because the oceans touch continents worldwide.
So does this only happen along the beach line?
Well, no, it would occur where the water is. Have you never been to like a river where it's got running water and there's like you find smooth rocks in it?
Oh, exactly. Of course. I have studied this intently. But have you ever been to a gravel pit like Lenox, Alabama, where there are thousands of them in a nice, neat layer, and then there's no river anywhere in sight?
Well,
and then there's a layer of clay
you realize that over the course of the Earth's history, like, there's been water, like, in different places, like...
Oh, that's the point of this debate. There's been water over the whole Earth at one time, called Noah's flood. That's the point of the debate.
I literally mean that, like, there are water beds that are now dry.
Oh, let me see. I'm gonna... Because Wildheart mentioned, like creationists are really, dentists for some reason. Let me give you a list here, Wildheart, of some of these creationists that what their titles are. So we got, these scientists include Michael Behe, Lehigh University microbiologist, Scott Minich at the University of Idaho, he's a biologist, Paul Chien, University of San Francisco, quantum chemist, Henry Schaefer at University of Georgia, he's a geneticist, Norman Nevin, emeritus at Queen's University Belfast, he's a mathematician, Granville Sewell at University of Texas, El Paso, he's a medical geneticist, Michael Denton, he's a evolutionary informatics lab. Robert Marks is distinguished professor at engineering. Okay, so we got all kinds. There's of course. Douglas Axe is a molecular biologist. There's so many more too. So, in fact, there's one really. I want to try to find this one dude. Maybe not. Yeah, John Sanford, PhD. He's a geneticist. But there's another dude too. I'll have to find him. So just something to think about. Yeah, there's plenty of white, younger creation scientists that have high credentials in science.
Oh, now that I would agree with. Go get me identified clams that are closed.
There are water beds that are dry now because in the past they were full of water. So you would find rounded rocks there because in the past there was a waterway there, or there was a lake, or there was a river or something like that. and then shit changed, and there's no longer a lake or a river there.
Well, I'd like to point out for the audience, you've had something in your mouth 4 or 5 times in the last hour that I wouldn't hold in my hand, but that's okay. You seem to have that kind of vocabulary. That's fine. The rounded rocks don't form in a lake. This is moving water. And I pointed out there are thousands of square miles of continuous limestone beds, for instance, sedimentary rock. 70% of the earth is covered by sedimentary rock. When they got to the top of Mount Everest in 1953, the year I was born, 1956, I'm sorry, 3 years later, when they got to the top of Mount Everest, they found petrified clams in the closed position.
Okay,
Clams
good.
don't-
I'm glad that you brought that up. Okay.
That's evidence of a flood.
No. It's not evidence of a flood. On the scientific model, on the geologic model, how does it explain that exactly? I want to know.
Well, I would like to point out that there's a difference between the scientific model and the current evolutionary model. Evolution has no science to back it up. Here are some petrified clams in the closed position. Go to the beach. When clams die, they open, something eats them, and it's hard to find a matched pair of seashells. But yet there are petrified clams 10 feet thick in northern Alabama, where you live, John. Ask around, where are the giant beds of petrified closed clams 10 feet thick in northern Alabama? I think this indicates rapid burial.
Right, everything in the fossil record is rapid burial. Because things don't fossilize. That's so stupid. I mean, how do evolutionists explain that? How do they get to that point? I mean, how do they address that? So if you think that all the things in the fossil record are dead organisms, no, they look like natural deaths, like they died of old age or something. No, these are rapid burials and stuff, and that's why another reason why I've converted to young Earth creationism, because of the flood. It shows a rapid burial. So I'm saying the evidence out there is pretty compelling. Don't take any of Mike's comments seriously. No, I know. I mean, it's good that you I'm glad you're poking. I mean, like you're trying to show arguments. That's fine. No, I agree. But if you have fallacious argument, if you're going to bring fallacious arguments into it, I'll probably expose it. But beyond that, I mean, feel free to show arguments and stuff. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I'm probably going to get
Fossils don't form at all.
Probably done with this in a little bit because it's getting old now.
Today in any significant numbers. When animals die, the coyotes and buzzards scatter them all over the woods. Yet we find fully articulated skeletons, dinosaurs 80 feet long. All the bones are still connected. This thing had to be buried rapidly in mud, rapid deposition of mud. You need to watch my video number 6. But
No,
fossils are found, petrified clams in the closed position. This is an indication that they were buried quickly before they could even open.
You didn't answer my question. You didn't answer my question, by the way.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Try again.
My question was, how does the current geological or scientific model explain this? Please do not say evolution one more time.
Okay. The current scientific model cannot explain it.
No, actually, the current scientific model can explain it because mountains are formed when the tectonic plates and
yeah, and that's still pointing to a catastrophe. I mean, when do tectonic plates just create mountains? How many mountains have been created in the last in recorded history? I don't see any new mountains anywhere. I mean, mountains have been there for a while. So, I mean, mountains denote something that is catastrophic. So, does good old God and godless engineer think about that? So, even he has to believe some type of catastrophe is going on.
But shit, like, merges together, like they hit.
Yeah, I'm done with that one now. Let's see. I was thinking it's been happening that way for thousands of years. I was thinking of migrating over to stream. Let's see here. I forget the name of it. what was the name of this? Olive.
Let me look. StreamYard.
StreamYard. So me and Olive are going to do like a short. So we're going to end this, but we're going to do a short. This new thing we have here with StreamYard, and people are welcome to come in. You can have your own icon. It's just like Google Hangouts. You're welcome. Just let us know if you want to have the link to come in. And we kind of wanted to test that out because, I mean, we love Streamlabs, obviously, because you can do the introductions, but we want to try this StreamYard. And if one way, that'd be great if you wanted to come in and test it out. That'd be cool. We can send you an invite. But who else wants to come in here is let us know now, so we'll send you an invite. Or at least, yeah, probably through Discord or something. We'll probably get you the invite. Because, I mean, this StreamYard, we really like a lot. Because it allows people, when people talk, you know when they're talking and stuff. See, sometimes here we don't know when people are talking. Sweet, Wildheart. Yeah, I think we're going to give it a try. So you'll probably see us online here in a little bit. It's not going to be real long, but if you want to come in, anyone is welcome to come in. Just let us know. My server in Discord is Praise and Olive, so let us know through that, or even in the chat when we get it going. So we're gonna call it here through Streamlabs. So we're gonna say good night and God bless.
And see you in just a few minutes.
Yep, see you in a few minutes.